Hello, my name is Paul, and today we're going to be talking about the dietary laws. What the true dietary laws are for the Adventist, Seventh-day Adventist Church. A lot of Seventh-day Adventists eat meat, and they shouldn't be doing that because Mrs. White is totally against it. We've got to go back to the original diet according to the spirit of prophecy. Here in the book of Martha, it says, again and again I've been shown that God is trying to lead us back step by step back to his original design. So what Mrs. White says in here is that we're going to go back to God's original creation. Where meat, and she also says down here that meat eating will eventually be done away with. We shouldn't be, and she talks about we shouldn't be eating meat. In creation, there was no meat eating, and obviously in creation there was fruit trees everywhere, so there was no hungry or poor people either. Here in Counsels on Diet and Foods, Mrs. White says, and many who are now only half converted on the question of meat eating will go from God's people to walk no more with them. And that's just to walk with God's people no more. That's a very, very big statement. So we see what Mrs. White says. There'll come a time when meat eaters will walk with God's people no more. That means a lot of people in the Seventh-day Adventist Church who won't give up meat will no longer be part of God's remnant people. The Seventh-day Adventist Church don't teach this. They just say keep the Sabbath you right. But that's not true. Mrs. White clearly stated then that those who are meat eaters will eventually come a time when meat eaters will walk with God's people no more. That means they won't be part of your remnant. So this has got to get out. Seventh-day Adventists have to get the dietary laws straight. They have to get back to God's original design. They're not teaching it right. And today we're going to put God's dietary laws back in order. We're going to put the right arm of the gospel back on the body. Here's a statement from Dr. Otto Warburg in 1930, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1931. He claims that everybody who's got cancer has a pH level that's too acidic. And I'm going to show you that here. I believe that to be true. Here's a picture and shows you the acidic foods. The worst are the alcohol, the sugar, and the white bread, because white bread, they put bleach on white bread. So they're the very acidic foods. You got the low acidic foods like the dairy, the nuts, the legumes, and obviously the meat. The alkaline of the fruits and the vegetables are all alkaline. They alkalinize your body. So really, if you want to get alkaline, you move more towards the fruit and vegetables. That's what God's original design was. So there's a lot of diseases linked to meat eating. Obviously, cancer in particular. Cancer in your body grows off your blood. It eats your blood to grow bigger. That's how cancer grows. And the theory is eating a lot of meat and dairy fills your blood up with lots of meat and dairy. But cancer loves it, and that's the best way for cancer to grow for your body. Apparently, the theory is by Dr. Otto Warburg, if you got cancer, go more alkaline foods. Go for more alkaline. Because apparently the theory is that the alkaline foods will shut down the cancer and won't be able to grow off it. But that will have a reverse effect on cancer and be able to shrink. That was Dr. Otto Warburg's theory. And it's been proven, but not many people don't teach this. The Seventh-day Adventists should understand this is a very, very important theory. This is one of the ways to beat cancer. And we've got the right. This is part of the right arm of the gospel, the health message, and we've got to start teaching the health message again. The Seventh-day Adventists have to stop eating meat. It's what the spirit of prophecy teaches. If you want to eat meat, that's your choice, but don't call yourself a Seventh-day Adventist because you're not keeping God's dietary laws. And it looks bad for those Seventh-day Adventists who do keep God's dietary laws. And so, I'll put it this way: you got a really big overweight man who eats a lot of meat and dairy and sugar, because Mrs. White says sugar's worse than meat. If you've got this big overweight man, and he says he's a Seventh-day Adventist, you've got this really fit Catholic who exercises well and eats well, the Catholic's going to laugh at us and say, hey, look, I'm fitter than you guys, you're pointing to the overweight people in our church, and I'm not going to say, look at your health message, I'm fitter than half of your people in your church, and they're right. So if you want to continue eating those kind of junk food, don't call yourself a Seventh-day Adventist. You're polluting our health message. It makes our health message look like it doesn't work. If you want to be part of the Seventh-day Adventist church, you have to keep the right arm of the gospel. You have to keep our dietary laws. Because it makes if you break the dietary laws and be obese and have all the diseases, it makes our health message look bad, and God's going to blame you for weakening our health message. If you want to keep the health message, keep it thoroughly, or don't call yourself a Seventh-day Adventist. Here in Testimonies to the Church, Mrs. White says that we didn't start teaching us to prepare food without milk and butter. That means vegan. This is vegan teaching. This is not vegetarian. This is actually vegan. And in this prophecy, she's got a prophecy here, and she says, the time will soon come when there will be no safe in using eggs, milk, cream, or butter, because the disease in animals is increasing the proportion and increasing of the wickedness among men. Mrs. White said over 100 years ago that eggs, milk, and butter will no longer be safe for human consumption because of the wickedness of men. That was a prophecy. And right here, right now, I'm going to show you the fulfillment of that prophecy according to the spirit according to what's happened today. But no longer should, today in 2018, we shouldn't be eating dairy. We should be going back to veganism. This is why it says that step by step, the Most High will lead us back to his original design. She said that in a prophecy I showed you at the start of this video. Now I'm going to show you this prophecy fulfilled about the wickedness of man. The cow was always to be called clean. It was always supposed to have toes, which I do, and they chew the cud. That was always a part of God's original design. And yet in the 1980s in Great Britain, they started feeding cows meat pellets. So when cows started eating meat and not chewing the cud, they were no longer vegetarian, they were actually meat eaters. Because these cows were meat eaters and not chewing the cud, these cows were unclean. These cows were unclean animals because they were not chewing the cud. These cows now were cursed with mad cow disease because they were not chewing the cud. So in testimonies of the church, Mrs. White predicted that one day milk and butter will be unclean for human consumption and cream. This happened in the 1980s when the cows in England were fed meat pellets. Because remember, in Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14, the cow was always clean as long as they chewed the cud. Those cows in England were not chewing the cud, they were chewing meat pellets. They were no longer vegetarian, they were no longer clean animals. So those cows in England were what I call unclean meat. And obviously a curse came from those cows for eating meat and not chewing the cud. And that curse was mad cow disease. Again, if England had not broken God's laws of diet in the 1980s, there will be no mad cow disease today. It was a direct result of a violation of God's commandments. And obviously today in 2018, seeing that prophecy by Mrs. White and seeing the fulfillment in the 1980s with mad cow disease shows us that we have to stop eating meat. We have to stop eating dairy. We have to go back step by step back to God's original design, a plant-based diet. And if you Seventh-day Adventists want to eat junk food and get big stomachs and cancer, you can do that, but don't call yourself a Seventh-day Adventist. It's not fair. Because when you call yourself a Seventh-day Adventist and eat the wrong foods, what you're actually doing is you're actually giving the health message a bad name. There's a lot of Sunday keepers out there who actually are healthy. Keep it like they may eat meat, but they eat maybe a healthy diet, they exercise. And by a few people in the church who are overweight and not eating God's commandments and getting cancer and heart attacks and strokes because they're not keeping God's commandments and diet, our health message is getting laughed at. They're mocking us. They're saying, oh yeah, that's Seventh-day Adventist church. Too much for their health message. Look, I can see overweight people in the church. Yes, you can, because those overweight people in the church are not keeping God's diet laws. So I'm going to draw a line in the sand right now. Either you keep all of God's commandments, including the commandments and diet, and show the health message to be true, and then call yourself a Seventh-day Adventist and preach the truth and try to teach people there is a better way to be fit and healthy by keeping God's laws of diet. Or you eat your junk food and your meat and your dairy, and you give up the Seventh-day Adventist name, so that people can only people can see only the people who call themselves Seventh-day Adventists are actually on God's vegan diet. Those people who are not on God's vegan diet, separate yourselves from them, so we can show the health message to be true. Remember, Mrs. White said there will come a time when people who eat meat will no longer walk with God's people. As a fifth angel, I'm telling you that's happening today. You have to stop eating meat, or you have to give up the Seventh-day Adventist name. You have to choose. As Moses drew a line of sand, I'm drawing a line in the sand today. Mrs. White said in testimonies to the church that cheese should never be introduced into the stomach. She also said that cheese is more objectable and it's wholly unfit for food. So what Mrs. White said there is cheese should never be introduced into the stomach. If you eat people who eat milk and cream and butter, she said cheese is worse because cheese is a lot harder to digest. I'm going to show you that right now about digestion. But she says cheese should never be introduced into the stomach. It's a lot harder to break cheese down into a juice, because I'm going to show you now exactly your digestion process according to the Word of God and according to our bodies. But she said if people want to eat milk and cream in her day, she's referring to don't eat the cheese. It's actually worse for your digestive system. Here's a cup of blood. If you ever see blood, you'll find it's not a solid. It's actually a liquid. It's a juice. You see, all your nutrition comes in juice form. It doesn't come in solid. So when you eat your food, your stomach turns your food into blood, which is a juice. Your stomach is actually a juicer. Whatever you put into your stomach, your body turns to blood, which is juice. So the foods that are easier to turn into juice are your oranges, your grapes, even your apples and bananas. The harder foods are probably vegetables. And the toughest food to turn into juice is meat. Could you imagine a tough beef steak? You turn a tough beef steak into juice. You have to use a knife to cut it, and yet you turn it into juice. That taxes out, that strains your stomach, and wears out your stomach trying to do that. Remember, in creation, there was no meat eating. There was no tough beef steak. Adam and Eve only ate a fruit-based diet. That was the original design in creation. In creation, there was fruit trees everywhere. And all Adam had to do was reach up and eat. So he had a soft, we humans have got a soft digestive system that turns fruit into blood. Adam and Eve in creation had that, and they had fruit trees everywhere. There was no meat, or not, there wasn't even vegetables. And in Leviticus, there's a commandment that says, when you have a field, leave the corners of thy field for poor people, so poor people can come into your field and pick the corners. And in creation, there was fruit trees everywhere. The Most High's original design was no one is to be poor. There's supposed to be vegetation everywhere, fruit trees everywhere, so that all humans can eat, whether it be on a nature strip, on a path, in your backyard, and even on the church lands. And again, most church properties have land which has got no fruit trees on it. Why don't they have it? Haven't churches not read the Bible? So we're going to talk about the raw diet as well. The raw diet is original design. Obviously, no GMOs. There was no GMOs in creation. When GMOs come out, all these children today have food allergies after GMOs come out. So that was a curse of sin, because remember, GMO fruit and vegetables are not clean foods. They're not foods. God never gave us GMOs to eat. So we go back to God's original design. Fruit trees everywhere. That was God's original design. Fruit is so easy to turn into blood. Could you imagine how easy it is to turn orange into blood, or even a banana or an apple? Vegetables are different. Vegetables are made for animals. That's what we're not made to dig up carrots or potatoes. We humans got an acidic taste bud. So we like, when you have chips, I'm not saying when you have chips, you like having vinegar or lemon juice, although vinegar's not good for you, but you like having lemon juice on your chips, or you like having something acidic, or when you have a pie, you have tomato sauce or your ketchup on there as well, or your burger, you have mustard and tomato sauce and pickles. We have acidic taste buds. That's what the Most High designed us to be. We're made to eat fruit, because fruit can be eaten raw, and vegetables you have to sometimes you have to cook, because vegetables are a lot harder. The bunny rabbit's made to eat the carrot. The bunny rabbit burrows underneath the ground and eats the roots of a carrot. We are not made to eat carrots. We are made to eat fruit. The cow's made to eat grass, because when you see a cow or a sheep eat grass, their necks just bend down like that, and in perfect proportion to their body so they can eat grass. We're not made to bend over to eat. We're made to eat directly from the fruit trees. That's the way the Most High had us in creation. No GMOs, no meat, and obviously vegetables. Mrs. White talks about vegetables. Animals let eat vegetables after sin, but before sin there was no vegetables. He only ate fruit. Vegetables were made for the animals. The bunny rabbit was to eat the carrot, but the bugs that eat the leaves of the trees. We're not made to eat that. We're made to eat fruit, because when you eat fruit, we've got a soft digestive system to turn our food into juice, which is blood. Again, we cannot turn beef steak into juice that easy. It's a very, very hard process for our stomach. It's very taxing. So when we look at God's original design, it was actually a fruit-based diet. And again, this is why it says you can eat vegetables. We can have food of animals. We can eat those today. And actually what she talks about in the dietary laws, because obviously the good thing about vegetables is it holds on to nutrition these days. Today people milk for soil. They don't rest their spare land every 7th year, as Most High said. So today vegetables actually hold the nutrition better when we milk for soil, whereas fruit, when you have weak soil, fruit isn't as good as what it would be in strong soil. So you can still eat vegetables today. I'm not saying don't eat them. I'm just saying fruit was always the better design. Mrs. White also says when you have your diet, you should actually, for breakfast, have a big salad bowl, and you should actually in the afternoon have a fruit bowl and like a fruit salad, or raw. And if you need a third meal, you should always eat a third meal should always be like fruit, probably fruit, raw fruit. Obviously raw is better, because there's so many problems of raw organic diet. More enzymes. The enzymes help you digest your food. And the quicker you digest your food, the less taxing on the stomach will be. Obviously, cooking it is not really the best thing. Like sometimes you cook your vegetables, but when you steam your peas and you have water in your peas, the water goes green. What actually happens when you steam your peas is the steam pulls the nutrition off your peas and into the water. That's why the water goes green. But really, when you pull nutrition off your peas into the water and the water goes green, you're losing nutrition out of your peas or your vegetables. So steaming vegetables, if you're going to steam your vegetables, the quicker the better. Because the more steaming you do, the more nutrition goes into that water and the more nutrition you lose in your vegetables. But again, the original design was fruit, but you can eat vegetables. And Mrs. White talks about a 2 meal a day diet was best. When Mrs. White talks about 2 meals a day, she doesn't refer to 2 meals a day eating meat or junk food. She's talking about the raw, organic, vegan diet. That's what she's referring to. If you do it, she talks about that in Cancer and Diet and Health. That food, she says that it may take you a couple of weeks to get used to, but when you get used to the raw diet, with 2 meals a day, you'll actually find that it's actually better than 3 meals a day. But if you are working hard, a third meal may be eaten, but you'll find 2 meals are better than 3. But you'll find that rest in the stomach means it helps it restore better. Obviously, eating a fruit-based diet means you can fast less. You don't have to fast as more, because again, a fruit-based diet is quicker to digest. It's less taxing on the stomach, because the fruit is so easy to turn into juice, whereas beefsteak is a lot harder. So if you eat a lot more fruit, you can actually fast less. But if you eat vegetables, that's fine, because vegetables are high in nutrition, because especially in weak soil. So in weak soil, vegetables hold their minerals better, so that you can eat vegetables too. But Mrs. White talks about for breakfast have a big salad bowl, and then for afternoon have a fruit salad bowl, and if you need a third meal, it should be fruit. But she says that you'll find that 2 meals are better than 3. Mrs. White talks about 2 meals a day: vegetables for breakfast and fruit for the afternoon meal. And obviously, if you need a third meal, she recommends something soft to digest, and the fruit will be the better for the third meal of the day. But she also says you'll find 2 meals are better than 3 if you go on the raw organic diet. In the Bible, it talks about trees needing water, so it needs good roots. In Jeremiah, it talks about the tree that's planted by the waters and her roots by the rivers. Again, in Psalms, it says the tree that's planted by the rivers of water. So the Holy Scriptures teach that trees need water to survive. Yahushua talks about the seed that falls on good ground. Because you see, Yahushua knew about composting techniques back in his day. He knew that fruit trees and vegetables need good soil, because if there's no good soil, they cannot actually produce good fruit. Because there's nothing in the soil, there's nothing to build fruit from. In the Holy Scriptures, it talks about you're to work your field for 6 years, but on the 7th year, you're to rest your field. What the Holy Scriptures teach is, on the 7th year, you've already milked the soil, you've taken all the stuff out of the soil, let the soil rest and replace the minerals that you've taken out to grow your fruit, your vegetables, your cows, your cattle, whatever you've grown, rest your soil. And that's why it says that, because Yahushua knew that to have good fruit and vegetables, you need good soil. He said that the seed that falls upon good soil. So you need to make sure that you have good soil. Today we milk the a lot of the problem with fruit today is we milk for soil, and sometimes the minerals in fruit in particular are not as strong as what they were in the past, because we're not resting our land. We milk the land for all it's worth. We grow fruit, and we keep on growing fruit from the soil year in, year out. We don't rest the land. We don't let the land replace its minerals intake. That's the reason why the Holy Scriptures say on the 6 years to work, on the 7th year to rest the soil, so the soil can build back up the mineral intake. So you can have good food and good cattle and good crops. That's what the Holy Scriptures teach. Obviously, we need water, and obviously we humans too, we need water as well, because if we can only go 7 days without water, then we die. Water is the source of life. So that's the most important thing we can actually have in this earth today. Just to prove what I say, Mrs. White says here that when you eat, your stomach needs 5 or 6, at least 5, probably 6 hours to rest before eating between meals, so they can digest the next meal better. She also says that in other parts of spiritual prophecy, you shouldn't eat between meals. You shouldn't even eat an apple between meals. And down the bottom of this, what Mrs. White says here, you'll find that 2 meals are better than 3. You see here that Mrs. White says that you need to rest your stomach between meals. You'll find that at least 5, perfectly 6 hours between meals. What this means is when you digest your food, you rest it. You'll find that over the time it's resting, by the time you have your next meal, you'll digest it better. I'll put it this way: if your meal represents 100% of nutrition, if you have 5 meals a day, you might only get 30 or 40% of the mineral intake out of your meals in your blood. Whereas if you rest your stomach, you might get close to 80 or 90%. So instead of having 4 meals a day of 40%, you might have 2 meals a day of 80%. You see, it's exactly the same, and you don't tax your stomach. Your stomach doesn't need to rest as much. So Mrs. White says that in the spirit of prophecy. You also see there, she said 2 meals are better than 3. If you notice down the bottom of that prophecy, she said you'll find that 2 meals are better than 3. She says you shouldn't have more than 3 meals a day. Some Seventh-day Adventists like to have 4, 5, 6 meals a day eating junk food. But yet Mrs. White doesn't teach it. The Seventh-day Adventist health message doesn't teach it. These Seventh-day Adventists who break the dietary laws willfully, I know there are some circumstances which, if you're in a bush and you've got nothing to eat, you have to eat an animal, you have to eat an animal. I know there are some exceptions, but basically speaking, if a Seventh-day Adventist church today continues breaking God's dietary laws and gets overweight stomachs and cancer and unhealthy bodies, we're giving the health message a bad name. It is better you don't call yourself just a Christian and drop the Seventh-day Adventist name, so that people who keep the dietary laws can give the health message a good name. Because these people in the churches who are eating unclean meat, who've got overweight, what they're actually doing is they're giving the health message a bad name. They're destroying the health message, and this has got to stop. You've got to either choose to keep God's health light, God's laws on diet, or you've got to give up the Seventh-day Adventist name. It's not fair for God's right arm. But what these people are doing by eating unclean meat, or eating meat and dairy and sugar and obviously all this junk food, and calling themselves Seventh-day Adventists, what they're doing is they're getting a sword and they're cutting their right arm off their body. We're cutting the right arm off a health message. It's been cut off. No, it's got to be stopped. The Seventh-day Adventists have got to choose. Do they want to keep all God's commandments, including the dietary laws, or do they want to walk with God's people no more? They've got to make a decision. They've got to stand for truth. Here's what Mrs. White backs up what I'm saying. What I said before is, what Mrs. White said before is, you need at least 5 to 6 hours, at least 5 hours to rest your stomach. So she says here that she said light breakfast is not the best way, because Mrs. White knows that when you You get up in the morning, your stomach has had all night to rest. She says that when you wake up in the morning, it's the best time to eat your food. So you should have a breakfast, should be a high vegetable breakfast. Eat your vegetables for breakfast, because she says that your stomach's so rested, it's the best time to digest your food. That's why she says eat a salad for breakfast. She says you should have a large breakfast and a smaller dinner. Complete opposite of what people today. What Satan is teaching today is we should have a light breakfast and a large dinner, but that's not true. It's supposed to be the other way around. Very quickly, I want to go through what Mrs. White said in Counsels on Diet, because I want to show you that first what she says is late suppers are bad, are particularly harmful. What Mrs. White said there is you shouldn't eat just before bed, because when you go to bed, your metabolism slows down, but your digestion process slows down. It means it's a lot harder to digest your food when you're asleep than it is when you're awake. When you're awake, especially first thing in the morning, is the best time to eat your food. That's when your digestive system is best. Obviously, when you eat your food, you should always go for a walk, because when you walk, your body goes up and down. It helps use gravity to digest your food. It's all based on science, but basically what Mrs. White says then is when you eat food, don't eat before bed, because it's not really good. She also talks somewhere that you shouldn't even have an apple between meals. Make sure you rest your body, and when you go to bed, your body should be rested. Your stomach should be rested, so in the morning, it's right to go to full charge to digest your next meal. Here, Mrs. White says you need at least 5 or 6 hours to digest meals between meals. So you rest your stomach between eating, and she says 2 meals are better than 3. Mrs. White talks here about resting your stomach. She also says down the bottom here, if you look down the yellow down the bottom here, it says a third meal be eaten at all. It means she says 2 meals are better than 3. She says even a third meal is to be eaten, it should be light and several hours before going to bed. Mrs. White says that 2 meals are better than 3. The reason she says this is because you have less meals, but you get more out of your meals. You digest your meals better, and it rests your stomach. And so, obviously, when you rest your stomach, that means you take less nutrition to rebuild your stomach up and your body up as well. That's what she says. She says 2 meals are better than 3 for a reason. It's because your system works better. But she said if you have a third meal, it's only if you work hard during the day. This doesn't mean you go out to meaningless labour. This means if you're working hard as a labourer or whatever you're doing, if you're having a tough day, then obviously a third meal may be needed. That's what she's referring to 3 meals. But 2 meals are better than 3, she says. And she says you shouldn't eat food several hours before bed. Here, Mrs. White talks about resting your stomach. And again, you feel free to pause this video at any time you feel and have a read of what she actually said. Here, Mrs. White says it may take you a bit of time to change from to a 2-meal diet, the raw vegan, obviously raw vegan 2-meal diet. But when you do, it'll be a lot easier when you make the change. After all, you just need to persevere until you make the change back to a 2-meal diet. What Mrs. White says when she talks about the 2-meal a day diet is she's talking about raw organic vegan diet. At least half your meal should be raw to get the enzymes to digest your food, but better to get more raw to try to go back to the original diet as what God the Most High said in creation. It's a 2-meal of raw organic vegan diet. There's no fried chicken and chips. There's no hamburgers. There's no meat or dairy. It's actually going back to the raw organic vegan diet. That's what she means. If you try the 2 meals a day diet on junk food, it's not going to work. If you try to eat junk food, you're not going to get much out of your junk food. If you eat meat, you're not going to get much out of meat. When she talks about 2 meals a day, she's talking about a raw organic vegan diet. No GMOs, because GMOs are bad. Once they're bad, GMOs come out, kids got food allergies. So there's no GMOs, no meat, no fast food. It's more simplicity. It's better back to the way the Most High had in creation. And if obviously the organic part of it too, you don't want for a reason, and you don't want no chemicals if you can do that as well. This is what it's talking about. If you try the 2 meals a diet on junk food or eating meat or dairy, it's not going to work. Here, Mrs. White talks about resting your stomach, going back to the original diet, simple food, eating twice or 3 times at the most. Here, Mrs. White says you may educate your stomach to eat 8 meals a day, but this is not the Most High in creation. The reason you're eating 8 times a day is because you're not getting enough nutrition out of the meals you are having. When you eat your meals, you're supposed to get a lot of nutrition. If you're eating a lot of fast food, you're going to want more than 1 meal a day. That's what the problem is. You are really to teach your body that 1 meal is actually more than enough to supply what you need. You've got to train your body to let go. It's something that has to change. Your taste buds change every 2 weeks. Again, we are made with an acidic taste buds. We love our acidic foods. That's why when you have French fries or potato chips, you put lemon juice on them, or you're not supposed to have vinegar, but you put vinegar on it too. People have pies, I'm not saying we should eat meat, but people have pies, they put their ketchup or tomato sauce on there. You put mustard and tomato sauce on your hot dogs. These are all acidic foods. What else is there? Pickles. The reason they pickle pickles is because they love acidic foods. We are made with acidic taste buds. That's why we love our acidic foods. Actually, just like food, the Most High made us to have a fruit-based diet. Again, candy or lollies, they're always acidic food. Sugar's an acidic food. But the Most High had his acidic food in creation, a fruit-based diet. And if you change your diet back to the way the Most High had in creation, you'll find your taste buds change. You'll actually desire fruit more, and meat less. It'll come to a stage if you change your diet. That I gave up eating meat, and one day I just wanted to try eating meat, the chicken, to see what it tastes like. I don't eat meat. I just wanted to taste and test my taste buds out. My taste buds have changed so much, but when I ate that chicken, it tasted like plastic. This was a few years ago. I haven't eaten meat since. It was just to test the theory, because every 2 weeks your taste buds change. I don't eat meat anymore, but when I gave up eating meat, I just did it just to taste to see, and I have actually lost the taste for chicken, which is actually a surprise. Your taste buds do change, your stomach changes, and your body changes to adapt to the original diet. And if you eat a fruit-based diet consistently, you'll find you'll develop a greater taste for fruit, and the taste buds will be less for meat, and you won't desire meat as much. And if you do eat meat, you won't get the taste as what you did as before you changed your diet, because we're raised on the wrong diet. And you look at this today, you look at the people in India, they eat a high curry diet, lots of curry, spicy, and yet foods that make our tongue cringe, spice up our tongue, that heats up our tongue, they eat naturally because they're used to eating those diets. And you look at the Western diet, the Americans and the Western world, we eat a lot of fast food. You look at everywhere you go, everyone eats different foods because our taste buds change to climate, to adjust to the situation around us, to adjust to our surroundings. And if you adjust your surroundings back to God's original diet, you'll find that you'll develop a better tasting food will be fruit. You won't need the acidity because the most I put acidity in the fruit, and you'll find it's better for you. But the only problem today with fruit is they actually milk for soil, so it's actually a weaker standard than what it should be as was in creation. But in creation, the fruit was actually a very high standard. Vegetables seem to hold the nutrition better. So today, with weak soil, you can eat vegetables for breakfast is a good alternative. And Mrs. White says that. Here, Mrs. White says 2 meals a day is preferred over 3 and go rest your stomach. She says that when you have breakfast, your stomach's don't come to rest. That's a full charge. Mrs. White says here that 2 meals are better than 3, but she says if you work hard, a third meal may be needed, but these should always be light. It should be soft digesting foods. Obviously, crackers and English biscuits, these are easy to digest. These are soft foods that are easy. You can break them with your fingers. Again, here she says that 2 meals are better than 3, but sometimes if you work hard, a third meal may be needed, and this should be very light and obviously a couple of hours before bed. Here, Mrs. White talks about in Health Counsels on Health that you need self-control, you need to persevere, you need to make the changes to your body. Then she talks here about you need to discipline your diet, you need to change, you need to persevere, deny self-denial, and actually try to make the change in your body to get the best out of your body you can be. Here she talks about proper control, don't overeat, obviously don't have big diets, obviously 2 meals a day is the best. She says if you need to eat, have some water, and even though it may upset you the night before, the next morning your stomach will be much better to digest your big breakfast. Again, here Mrs. White talks about 2 meals a day. She says a 2 meal a day system on a raw, vegan, organic diet is the best way for you. She says dinner or after the last meal of the day should always be the smallest and lightest, and it should only be if necessary if you worked hard during the day. She talks here that you will feel severely charged if you would go back to 2 meals a day diet. She talks about here she's on a 2 meal a day diet. She's done this for 35 years. She's practiced a 2 meal diet system, so she knows what she's talking about. It says here that those who consistently eat a 2 meals a day diet have made the change and have actually succeeded. She talks here that 2 meals a day diet, she says a third meal should be done without vegetables, but let it be simple, wholesome food, such as fruit and bread. I've shown you today that Mrs. White says 2 meals are better than 3. That's a raw, organic, vegan diet. I've shown you that we've got to start keeping the diet laws. It is one of the gospel. There's 7-day Adventists who choose to eat junk food and meat and have improper diets who get cancer and overweight and obesity. If they choose to do that, they need to cut themselves off from the 7-day Adventist message, because for every 7-day Adventist who keeps their dietary laws and shows the health message to be true, every time you get a 7-day Adventist who breaks the dietary laws and gets overweight stomachs and unfit, cancer, it kind of destroys the health message. I'm drawing a line in the sand. If you want to choose to be a 7-day Adventist, you've got to keep the Sabbath, and you also got to keep God's laws on diet. If you don't want to keep God's laws on diet, then you must give up the 7-day Adventist name. So don't call yourself a 7-day Adventist if you're not keeping God's laws on diet. You're giving the dietary laws a bad name. Every time you got someone who's overweight or cancer, people mock us and say, "Oh, he's a 7-day Adventist, but he's got cancer. He's overweight. I'm fitter than him, but I'm not a 7-day Adventist." They say that, and you know what they're doing? They're mocking our message because of some disobedient members in the church. You need to either keep God's dietary laws, or you need to give up the 7-day Adventist name. Mrs. White said, "There'll come a time when meat eaters will no longer walk with God's people. And I say unto you today, the day has come. If you do not want to keep God's dietary laws, give up the 7-day Adventist name, and let those people who want to preach the health message, let them do it without you being a burden." Because that's what you are. If you're not in God's dietary laws and making yourself sick and overweight, you're actually a burden to the health message, because it makes the health message look it makes it look like it doesn't work. And it's not it doesn't work. It's because some people call themselves Seventh-day Adventists and yet don't keep the dietary laws. It gives the health message a bad name. It's their fault. It's a lie about the health message. That's why you got to choose today. Are you going to keep the Sabbath, and are you going to keep God's dietary laws, or are you going to go walk with God's people no more? You have to make a decision to serve the Most High today. Choose today who you will serve.